If you've ever received the feedback at work, you just need to be a bit more confident. And then you've thought to yourself, okay, how? This video is for you. I'm Ali Phillips, an executive leader, a mum to a toddler, and founder of Sage, a career accelerator for women. In today's video, I want to take you through what I have learned about being more confident, particularly when you don't actually feel it, because it is actually something that you need to learn. There are skills that you can learn to portray more confidence. So I'm going to take you through a few nifty little tricks. All right, now the thing with confidence is it's actually, in my mind, made up of two things, right? It is the internal beliefs that you hold about yourself, so how you feel, how you the self-talk that you have, your self-doubt. It comes from the inside, but then it's also based on external perception and how people see you. So it's how others see you, how you come across. But confidence is really those two things summed together. And really this side over here, the internal beliefs, that takes time. That does take time. It takes time. It takes experience. It takes repetition of putting yourself into moments of discomfort until all of a sudden everything just feels neutralized to you. But this over here, how others see you and how you show up and how you physically present yourself, you can change those things pretty quickly. It's not necessarily easy, but it's faster. And one of the things that you need to learn how to do is sort of interpret what does confidence actually mean for other people. Because when I guarantee you, if someone gives you that feedback of you need to be more confident, they're probably not going to be able to tell you how or why or what it is that you need to, how it is that you need to show up. But you can decode that for yourself. So years ago, I used to work in qualitative research, and we used to do this thing called semiotics, which is basically the study of symbols and patterns. And it's a science, right, where there are universal symbols and patterns or symbols and codes where we all interpret them the same way. So for instance, green equals good, red equals bad. These patterns show up because of repetition throughout society, but also the emotional reaction that they evoke in us. And so what I learned through the study of semiotics is that everything has what you call a code. So codes are effectively patterns of something that have the same meaning to everyone. And bringing this back to confidence, because I went on a bit of a tangent there, but bringing this back to confidence is what you need to do is identify what are the codes of confidence. What are the universal patterns that when everyone sees it, their perception is that that person is confident. And there are a few. So when you Google confident person, this is what shows up, right? So look at all these people. There's a few codes here where it's the same pattern showing over and over and over again. So you can see smiles. You can see that they are standing up. There's a lot actually of folded arms, which it's a sign of power, which I suppose exudes confidence. I also think it does close your body language, but regardless, it is a sign of power. But if you look at all these people, their shoulders back, they're smiling, they are front on, they're looking at you, like they're making eye contact, they're smiling. There's certain codes in here that show different confident people. So when you break it down and you sort of summarize those patterns or those codes, you know that actually what confidence is, it's smiling, it's standing up tall, it's shoulders back, it's relaxed. Like there's no nerves in there, right? There's no like shaking or anything. I mean, it's still photos, but even still, you're not seeing any nerves coming through. And they're making eye contact. So there are certain codes of confidence, and when you break them down, you can identify them and then start to practice them for yourself. So the way I think about it, when people show up as confident, they're largely doing that through one of three ways: through their body language, through how they speak. So this isn't necessarily the words that you say, but how you say them, and then what you say. So the words that you actually say. So in terms of your body language, we went through this just then, but it's smiling, standing up tall, shoulders back, relaxed, eye contact. All of these things show confidence. In terms of how you speak, and I was just very conscious of how I'm speaking now, but how you speak, are you loud or quiet? Obviously, the louder you are, or to an appropriate level, you don't want to be shouting, but to an appropriate level, can people hear you? That's going to show confidence. Are you mumbling or are you clear? Are you speaking too fast or slow? Do you have the right intonation? So a lot of people I notice this when they're presenting, they start to add an inflection at the end of every sentence. So every sentence goes up at the end. And what that feels then, that the audience will then perceive that as a question. And it starts to then embed this thought in the audience's head that that person is questioning themselves. So what is your intonation? Do you have the appropriate intonation when you're speaking? And then think about the words that you say. Do you have words of conviction? Are you saying things like just or I think? Are you being direct in your recommendations? And do you have a planned close? So I want to go through some examples here of what sounds confident and what doesn't sound confident in terms of different like language that you can use. And here we go. Red. See, red is notoriously bad and green is notoriously good. But here are some pieces of language where it doesn't sound so confident because it sounds like you're second guessing yourself. Now, I just think maybe. Just and maybe and think. Don't use those words together. Versus, here's my view. Or, I don't know if this makes sense, but like you're already entering into your view by questioning yourself. Versus, what I'm seeing is. It could mean this or this or this. So I'm giving you multiple different options and you can choose your interpretation. Versus there are multiple potential meanings. The most likely is. So here's saying, yes, there could be different interpretations here, but the one that I'm backing is this. We could do this or this or this. So this is an example where you're not being clear or direct in your recommendation. Versus there are multiple paths forward. The one that I recommend is X. So you can see here how you are getting... If you are more direct and you are giving your view, your choice, you will be perceived as more confident. So in terms of like, once you understand this and once you break it down and you identify what are the different codes of confidence, so how should I show up in my body language? How should I speak? What is the language that I should use? What you can then start to do is first build self-awareness and start to sort of mark yourself on these things, and then to identify ones that you want to start practicing. Now, in terms of building self-awareness, this is actually the quickest way to shift in your confidence and to shift in how you show up. But I guarantee you no one does it. So literally 1% of people do this. So if you want to stand out, start doing these things. To build to build awareness, you want to first, or A or B, record yourself. Like honestly, when you record yourself and you watch yourself back on video, and I know this because I've had to do it loads in my career, but when you do this, it is the fastest way to change. It is the fastest way to see growth because you will very quickly see how others perceive you. Now, the good thing is we're all on Zoom these days or on Teams or whatever, Google Meets, whatever you're using. And so it's really easy now to actually start to record yourself and actually start to see how you're showing up or how others are seeing you. So just record a meeting and play it back and watch yourself, watch how you're speaking, how you're showing up. Another is when you are, if you're doing a presentation, you can, I always recommend to practice, but you can record yourself on your phone and just watch it back. It is irky, it is yuck, but over time you'll get used to it. It won't bother you anymore. And I guarantee you it is the fastest way to actually see change in how you're showing up. The other thing is to seek feedback. So talk to someone you trust and ask them to be specific. So get them to give you a run through after a session or after a presentation. Ask them questions like, how loud or quiet did I speak? What was my body language like? Get them to be specific. Don't just if they say to you like, oh yeah, you were pretty confident, or, oh no, you weren't pretty confident. You want to understand why. What was it about how you showed up that reflected in that way? So get them to be really specific. Then what you want to do, once you've built that awareness and once you know the codes of confidence, just pick one. Just pick one to upgrade and focus on that for a week or a month or a fortnight, whatever it is, but just pick one. So it might be that you decide, okay, I need to start standing tall in my meetings. Like I need to sit tall. I just realized that my body language I was like kind of slouching. So maybe that's the one you want to focus on for a week. Or I'm going to speak a little louder because I know that I have been quite quiet when I talk. Normally I talk like this and people can't hear me. So that would actually be ridiculous. But normally you might be speaking a little, quieter. And so you want to raise your voice. Or another might be, I want to focus on the close when I am speaking or when I'm doing a presentation. This was feedback that I received a few years ago where my C-suite member at the time, he texted me after I did a presentation. He was like, nailed the presentation, but you got to focus on your close. And I remembered actually, I kind of walked off stage and I was like, okay, and that's it for today. Versus having a statement that wrapped it all together. Like I had to focus on my close because actually that's what people remember you by. So that was something that I worked on for a while. But my recommendation, don't try and do everything. Choose one, work on it for a couple of weeks, set yourself a reminder, put it on your phone, put it on your screensaver, put a post-it note on your laptop screen that says stand tall, stand tall, stand tall, whatever it is. But give yourself that reminder and you focus on that until that just becomes second nature. The other thing that you want to be doing to build confidence is to always, always, always prepare and always, always, always practice. So when I'm talking about preparing, this is in terms of if you're about to go into a meeting or you're about to go into a workshop, be prepared, because when you prepare, what you're effectively doing, you're almost building this muscle memory or this, it's like a muscle memory to know how you should respond or how you should react in the meeting. And having that preparation, it will help you think clearly during a meeting, because you will, not only will you already know some answers in your mind or know some questions that you want to ask, but the fact that you've done the preparation means that you're not sitting there in the meeting or sitting there in the workshop thinking about, oh, I don't know what's going on here, I haven't prepared. You've kind of squashed that because you've done the preparation. So very easy ways to do this. Like if it's a bigger meeting or if it's a one that you know that you need to be active in, like ask for an agenda, read the pre-read and prepare some questions ahead of time. But have some thinking done before you go in, and what that will naturally do is make you feel more confident in the session. And then in terms of practice, if you are doing a presentation, like just practice. The more you do this, the more you will get used to how the language that you want to use, the words that you want to say. You won't trip up on yourself. Like you have to practice. Practicing your presentation, it will commit it to memory. It's human nature. It will happen. And so spend the time doing this, and that will then also boost your confidence. So some tips or how I've done this in the past, like one, I always recommend to rehearse without the slides. It's the same thing as, when you cook with a recipe or when you drive somewhere using Google Maps, you don't remember where you're going or you don't remember the recipe. But if you force yourself to get there without maps, or if you force yourself to do the cooking without the recipe, it commits to memory. It's the same thing with presentations. Try to talk it through without the slides in front of you, because you will force your brain to remember, and you will actually be surprised at how much you do actually remember. I also recommend to do things like not talking it out, not doing it in the environment that you would actually do it in. So talk it out on a walk or rehearse it in the shower. You'll find in those moments where you're sort of semi-distracted, you are in a calmer state. So you're going to be able to get through that presentation with a lot more confidence and a lot more clarity. So practice it in these types of environments, or like if you're going for a drive. The other thing that I recommend, and people kind of laugh when this is spoken about, and then there's people who do this and people who don't do this, and people who actually do it, they're like, oh yeah, it works for me, definitely recommend it. But if you are going to do a presentation and you're nervous and you're shitting yourself and it's just you're feeling worried about it, do this, because it actually does work. So power posing, right? There is a study, I think it was in 2010, by a psychologist, Amy Cuddy. And what she found was that if people power pose, so literally like stand in front of a bathroom mirror for 2 minutes in like Wonder Woman pose, when people do this, it actually brings up the hormones that make you feel more confident, and it reduces your cortisol. So try it. Just do it in front of a mirror for 2 minutes. Honestly, it does make a difference. And finally, the other thing I want to talk about in terms of confidence is regulating your nervous system. So this is one that maybe people don't talk about much, but it is so important, and it happens to us all the time on a daily basis. But your nervous system, it's the system that is like connects to your brain and all your nerves. But when it is triggered, your body is in a stress response, and it's either deciding to fight or flight. And this happens in any moment of stress, any moment where we're feeling a little bit, your nervous system is triggered. And in these moments, you're not able to think clearly, you're heightened, and you're much more reactive. So you're not going to show up as super confident. So the thing that you need to learn how to do is actually regulate your nervous system. And I have a few tricks for this. First is box breathing. So this is where you breathe in for 4 counts, you hold for 4 counts, you breathe out for 4 counts, and you hold for 4 counts. So in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. And you do this, right? You do this for a few minutes. And what that does is it actually physiologically, it changes you. It physiologically changes you. It slows your heart rate down. And by doing that and having that actual physical change, you're going to feel more confident. And finally, another one, if it's the same kind of thing, but it's also a breathing technique. This one I also like. And actually, sorry, before I move on to it, this one, I do this if I'm about to present to the board or to the C-suite, I will actually sit in my chair and I will box breathe to slow down my heart rate and to just make me feel a bit more confident when I am presenting. And another one that you can do is what I call straw breathing. It's the same kind of thing. It is. It still activates the vagus nerve, which is something that helps like regulate your nervous system. And basically, it's a little different, but it's the same intent. You breathe in for 4, and then you breathe out for 8. But when you're breathing out, you sort of purse your lips like you're blowing out through a straw, and that helps you slow down your breath rate as you exhale. But again, same thing, physiological difference, and therefore makes you feel more confident. So that's it in terms of how to actually feel more confident or be more confident or appear more confident even when you may not be feeling like it. But the trick is like pick one new habit, practice it for a week, and then pick another. But set those reminders, embed this, like make sure you are embedding those habits so that they just become part of your everyday. If you found this helpful and you are wanting to boost your career, check out my video series here where I take you through different skills that are needed to thrive in a corporate environment.